Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. I'm Juice, and today is sort of a video response type of deal. But before I get into that, I just want to say the podcast has not been recorded yet. Andrew has been having some issues on his end with, well, he was helping someone move on Monday. It went a little later than expected. And then last night he had computer issues, a DNS error. And so it took him a long time to get that situated. And then he had to go to work. So we have not filmed the podcast yet. It will be filmed. I always say that. It will be recorded, though, here soon. We're going to try and shoot for tomorrow night to get that recorded and up by, hopefully, early next week. I'll also try and get my D&D Basics video up next week so that you guys can watch that. And that one will be about backgrounds and backstories. So it ties in perfectly with this. My buddy, Nate, WASD20, go check his YouTube channel out. He posted in the YouTube RPG Brigade, and I'll read it exactly as he posted it. I'm struggling to get my group, all completely new to RPGs, to think about character background. I asked them to come up with a bit of backstory, but none of them really did. Probably because they don't really know the world well enough or understand the concept. I'm running Rise of the Rune Lords at the moment, though I'm probably going to be taking the story off the rails and homebrewing quite a bit. What should I do? Give them each a worksheet with prompts and make it homework? Roll it all up with the ultimate campaign stuff? Or have them pick stuff from the D&D backgrounds in the 5e PHB? Anyone have any tips on helping them form backstories? This is something I've encountered countless times. It just depends on who you're playing with. My wife, for example, I've been with her for 4 years now. Going to be 5 as of New Year's, 2014, 2015. And when we started gaming together, one of the first times I was going to run a game, I asked her and a few other people to fill out a page with a bunch of questions. I think it had, 12 questions. None of them filled it out. None of the players. Which to me made me feel like, okay, they're just not that into this. Which you had said in a later post on the brigade that you're worried about that. And I don't know if that's necessarily the issue. I don't think it's that they're not into it. I think some people go into it as a game mentality as opposed to a storytelling type of deal. Now, it's a little bit of both. And I think when you're new to it, you don't know what to expect. Even after you've played a couple sessions, you don't truly know what to really expect from an RPG, tabletop RPG. You still think, oh, I got to make the best thing so I can win. And the reason for this is some people say it's because of video games like World of Warcraft, or Legend of Zelda, whatever games you played growing up. And also because the word game is in the title. So I think that's the first hurdle, is helping them really understand what it is. The second thing is to find out what kind of person they are. Now, they're your friends, so you probably know them really well. But are they into getting really deep about things? Like, do they read a lot of stories and talk about how the book should have, like, what should have been different, or, oh, that didn't have the consistency with the characters, things like that? Is that kind of stuff they talk about? Or are they just kind of like, yeah, it's a good book? What kind of movies are they into? Things like that. And then once you kind of know what kind of person they are, that'll take you to the next step I have. The next step I think you need to think about is, are they, do they seem to enjoy the rolling the dice part and get excited about the high rolls more than a good RP session? Do they seem bored when you give them a lot of RPing? Because some people just don't care about their backstory at all. Some people just want to sit down at the table and kill stuff, and that's it. Other people like to sit down and just RP and get into the how deep their character is, and how deep the story is. That's what drives them. And some people like a mix and whatever. Everybody's different. And so I think figuring these things out is important. So since they're new and they might have trouble sitting down and thinking about what their character is thinking, my suggestion was when you're playing the game, have your NPCs, maybe they're guarding a caravan and taking it to another town or whatever, have maybe some of your NPCs ask them questions like, oh, so where, or not necessarily where you're from, because if they're not familiar with the setting like you suggested, maybe have them ask, so what's your hometown like? Or, oh, do you have any family? Why'd you get into adventuring? Simple questions like that that can also help drive your character. So once they've answered it, I think because they're new to it, and you said you don't want to overwhelm them and annoy them or frustrate them or whatever, maybe you behind the DM screen, you have a sheet for each player. And as you're asking the player about them, you just write their answer down. You just quick write it. So like if they say, oh yeah, I've got a brother and a sister, boom, brother, sister. Oh, that's awesome. Well, how old are they? What do they do? Boom. Write those things down really quick. And again, shorthand it. Do the same thing with why they adventure. Oh, you want to be rich? Okay, very cool. Or oh, you're hoping to find a relic. Okay, and as a new player, that question, when they don't understand, I guess, the concept of role-playing games, that'll be a big one. And I think it'll also be very limited because they don't. A lot of times when you're new to it, you think, oh, well, I just adventure for money and XP. But that's meta stuff. Money might still be, in character, but a lot of times they're thinking meta still. They're not thinking in character. They're still thinking as the player. And so, one, doing these things with questions will help get them answering in character. And then, and you can build on that, get an open dialogue going back and forth. Don't make it so they have to have everything right now in this moment, but throughout a couple adventures, maybe ask them, maybe every session, make that a goal. You're going to ask at least one question to each character from an NPC, and at the same time, while you're doing that, you're also going to be helping them build a relationship with those NPCs. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You're making them care about an NPC because that NPC cares about them. So especially if you do it well, by making the NPC stand out a little bit and things like that. So I think that's a wonderful way to do it. Another thing you can do to get your players thinking more in character is first you have to open them up to RPing. And RPing is more than just dialogue. RPing is combat, which I think, for instance, you've seen that in our Provoker sessions. Some of our best RPing moments have been in combat. I think when Brasswick and Durgan were competing against each other, for me, that was one of my favorite parts of RPing in the Provokers, is when we were going after those guys and trying to outdo each other for 20 minutes game time. I thought that was a lot of fun, and I've heard from other people they really liked that. So helping them get comfortable RPing with things like combat is sometimes easier than getting them comfortable RPing socially. And so if you can do that, I think that's a step in the right direction. And it'll also make combat more interesting. So that's where I would start. Open them up a little bit, figure out what they're into really outside of gaming, analyze it, and then figure it out from there on how to help them get into character. A lot of people, a lot of even veteran players don't like filling out questionnaires. My wife, for example, when I've asked her to come up with backstories, it was always something like, she didn't want to do it. And I think she still doesn't want to, but 5th edition forced her to put it on paper, and she liked it. My 2nd edition to 5th edition group, when they were like, oh, can we skip the backstory stuff? I said, no, you got to do it. It's a lot of fun, and it helps me give you guys inspiration. So they were like, okay, fine. And sorry, I'm getting over being sick still. But they loved it. They got into it. They liked it. The only thing I did with Ultimate Campaign is I let them roll for how they knew each other before the game. Now, you've obviously started your campaign already, so if they haven't figured out how they know each other, I would only do that. Don't give them the book. You hold the book, tell them to roll percentile and say, you know the person, clockwise by this. And then go to that person. You know the person clockwise to you because of this. And that's how they all know each other. That's the only thing I ever used the Ultimate Campaign book for when it came to backstory type stuff. Now, back to what I was saying about my second edition to fifth edition group. They were very like, oh, I want to skip this. Well, I made them do it. They liked it. I think it made them, at least in that first couple sessions, want to RP. Some of them want to RP. It was awesome. It worked. I've had people, I run D&D encounters weekly, which you know that, but not all the viewers do. And I've had people come to the table and say, well, can we skip the background? And I say, no, the background is very important because I can't give you inspiration unless I know who your character is. And obviously I can, but I tell them that. And then also I've noticed when people start doing it, they're like, oh yeah, this is really cool. I like this. And then you give them the trinket and boom, they get excited about their character. Not necessarily about the stats. So that's a big thing. The last thing I will say that is a really good thing to do too is reward them for it. I mean, if they seem like they're into leveling up and certain items, have them earn them and have them earn them by giving you something from their background. Maybe, it could be something simple. It could be a puzzle, or not a puzzle, but it could be something that you could write down one item for all of them. And obviously, magic items are overused in a lot of cases. I don't know how your group is. I don't know what they're into, but you could just be like, okay, you guys come up to something. It's like a genie or something. And instead of you getting wishes, they have something for you if you'll answer these questions. You ask the questions. If the genie's satisfied, they get something. And maybe it's something simple like a ring of protection or a sword that grants light for a human. Something simple. It doesn't even have to be something that's super mechanical. It could just be something that gives them, a water skin of endless water. They'll never run out of water, and then that makes your job easier because you don't have to keep track of, well, did you drink all your water? Did you eat all your rations? Again, though, that comes down to the type of game you run and type of players you have. So those are just some tips I have. Somebody had mentioned in the group a simple exercise that they do is list 5 things about your character, and it can't have anything to do with what they're carrying. You can do that too. That kind of comes down to giving them a questionnaire and having them fill it out. And I think it sounds like you're worried about doing that. If you're worried about doing that, have an NPC ask them certain things. Have them do an interview in-game for a quest. So, oh, you guys want this quest? Okay, well, we're interviewing mercenaries, and they come in as a group and they stand on a line and they all get asked questions. And that could be another way you do it. And so now you're getting information about them. Again, I recommend you writing it down so that you can then give it back to them, type it up, and give them a nice, neat sheet for them to have it. But yeah, just some tips. If you guys have any tips for Nate or any of my viewers, let me know. I might do a follow-up video if I think of a lot more. I've always had a lot of ideas for things like this, and right now I haven't been writing it down for a long time. So, and it just came up today. So be sure to leave a comment below with your suggestions. Like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends if you think they might be interested. And that is about it. Go check out rpgjuice.com. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook. Support my Patreon account. All that good stuff. So with that, I will see you guys next time, and have fun gaming. Bye.